They know that if they start to slip back again, they can go back and redo it, or they can perhaps do that 15 minutes a day. I know all my mentors still, after 50 years, are doing up to an hour a day on themselves. And it's just a way of life. You're always being reprogrammed by your environment. You're always getting triggered. There's so many layers. You could never get through it in this one lifetime. So it's really a decision around, do you want to have a better experience and journey in this life? And if you do, you need to put the time in like you would to eat, cook a meal, have a shower. Same thing. You just make that time to take care of your spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being.
We're here and we're back with return guest Deb Norman, who's a transformational coach. She's a psychological astrologer and a born medium who guides sensitive souls through the unseen layers of their subconscious to heal emotional sabotage and reclaim their true identity. And Deb's latest work is being a published author with Mr. Pat Mesiti in the book Reinvented You, and her chapter is called In the Basement Where the Shadows Dwell, where she reveals how inherited trauma, early emotional conditioning, and environmental distortion shape our default behaviors. So we need to dismantle those things. Her website is quantumblueprint.com.au, and we're here to talk about how to stop absorbing others' pain and start transmuting it into purpose, which maybe includes rewriting generational scripts, reclaiming our boundaries, and becoming who we're meant to be before the world told us otherwise. So, Deb, glad to be with you and meet you and see you again.
Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for having me on again.
Wonderful to have you. And so what have you been up to these last few months? What's new and exciting? What has you focused and passionate?
Oh, wow. A lot's been going on with the business. I've been put in some Oracle cards, and then the magazine called Oracle Me, which is global, I think. I was voted in to go on the front cover of that, and I also write the astrology for that magazine. And I get about half the book actually in articles that I'm able to write. So I love that because I love astrology and psychology. And I'm also on the front cover of Inspire magazine, which has just been rebranded from the Corporate Escapists. And that's also going out to about 10 million people. So I'm pretty excited about all these things. And it's happened quite quickly, and I've had a lot to do without much warning. So very excited about that.
Very cool. You've been embracing these life opportunities and you've been a publicity machine. And why do you think this has been happening? Why are you so in demand? What do people want to know from you about astrology and all things related?
I think it's because it's not just astrology that I do. I've mixed astrology or science with spirituality. And instead of having to do multiple things separate, like I had to do over decades with teachers of, psychology with one teacher, psychastrology with another, healing with another, and paradigms, and I've kind of used everything that I've learnt and rolled it together into one program, and I get results pretty quick. And people just want to learn about themselves. They want to know why things aren't going right. They're eager to absorb information, and I can put it in a way that's really easy to understand, that brings a shift and change quite fast for them, so they don't have to spend decades like I did.
Very nice. So you connect these things that were not previously connected to get to some solutions. And so what is being solved here? When someone comes to you, what do they usually say? What's typically the problem?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I've worked with teens that are on the spectrum that are just struggling with life in general, or they get stuck in their head and they can't handle being around crowds. So, we can work on that. I've worked with a speech pathologist to help her understand the young ones that she works with, because they're disabled and a lot of them are in a wheelchair, they can't speak. So because I'm a medium, I'm able to link in and assist with just little cues that they need to understand the needs of the child. They mentioned to me that their income increases, that they've become um, stronger when it comes to boundaries, their self-image is improved. Some people that were working in dead-end jobs are now applying for things like NASA. One of my clients, she got a job at NASA after working with me for 6 weeks, and another one, she had a lot of health issues, and in one session, we just squashed the health issues. So it doesn't matter what the problem is or whether they're a child or an adult or male or female. This is work I believe everybody needs to do because it reprograms the dysfunction that we're taught when we're young from our environment, and it helps us to understand that we are a machine that can self-regulate. And if you've got the tools and the strategies and the understanding of how to instruct your cells, then you can pretty much heal yourself and do anything you want.
Yes, well, that's very cool. So you're saying that people always have areas where they're held back, they're limited, life could be better, they're kind of stuck in whatever path they're in, and they need something new, right? They need to get over that social phobia. They need to figure out their speech, work at NASA, whatever that dream is. And is there a simple way of explaining all the amazing work you do? I know you said you string things together, but just like, is there a way to say, here's my method, here's how I do it?
Oh, okay. It's probably not as simple as that because I've mixed so many modalities together. So I would work on their energy body, their emotional body, their physical body, their spiritual body. I'd teach them about themselves so they can understand their triggers, why they react the way they do, why other people trigger them the way they are, uh, what trauma's unhealed. So say an empath, which is what I work with a lot, if they're out in a crowd and they don't cope with crowds very well, and they feel drained, and they get overwhelmed, and I show them that they're linking into the field and everybody else's unhealed stuff, and it's vibrationally matching their stuff, and that's causing them to take on more of a load, and then they get angry or judgmental or sad about that. And as soon as you get into that headspace, it literally drains your battery in seconds. So we do it to ourselves. We think others are draining us, but energy flows to and through us constantly. So others can't take or drain you. What they can do is trigger you. And when you're not able to cope with your triggers, you drain your own battery.
That's a great insight right off the bat, that it's up to us to make ourselves better. And if our battery is being drained, it's because of our triggers. And so, say you're speaking with that empath who is in a crowd and their battery gets drained, and you say, okay, well, you need to change your triggers. And they say, well, easier said than done. How do we even begin to go about doing that?
Oh, they normally work with me one-on-one. I would take them through their whole chart and teach them about what they've brought through with them, how they react to things, how they relate, how they feel, their weak spots, their strengths. Then we talk about their early conditioning and the programming they've picked up that they may not be aware of. And then I'll literally pull everything out of their filing cabinet and throw it away and rewire them.
Well, great. I think we could all use some of that, right? We could all use throwing out the filing cabinet and rewiring them. And when someone's on this upward path, when they're getting your help, is there any areas of difficulty, or is there any time when maybe someone maybe it feels harder than they expected it, or when they feel like giving up? Is there any kind of resistance to the work you do?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody goes into resistance. That's when you really know you've hit the nail on the head, when they start fighting back. And it's usually about a belief system or a program that they took on as a child from their maybe parents or a teacher that they thoroughly believed in, to the point where they would fight to the death to protect it. And it's not even theirs. So sometimes we have to find a back door in to rewire those problems, because people can get really stuck in their paradigm and they don't want to shift, because change is more scarier than staying stuck in something that's uncomfortable. Sometimes they have to hurt more until they've had enough, and they're willing to do anything to stop the pain.
Well, they may call that the rock bottom, right? And so, do you have
Yeah.
anything to speak to that? Like, if someone is maybe it's getting worse, or it's just they're just getting to that rock bottom, or they're just not seeing a way through it. Is there anything that you say, or any techniques that maybe have helped them complete their chart or see a new perspective?
Yeah, I have. I've created a 232-page workbook where they need to do the work every day. And the tools in there and the exercises that they have to do will do that for them. If they do it every day, in 3 weeks, there's going to be a shift. Everyone shifts on that third week. I've never had one that didn't.
Okay, but they have to do the work, don't they? They have to have that discipline,
Absolutely.
and that's like really some. Yeah. And that's and I thought I've had in my head for the last several weeks that there's just like we have all these habits that we're in every day. And even if you want to take on like one or two new habits, it takes so much work just to change some kind of our daily ritual activity. We're so stuck in the way that we are. And you have to wonder if someone thinks that they're getting help, right? If they think that they're pursuing positive thinking or they think they're working on themselves, but it's really just more of the same stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Where some people say, well, just think positive, but then there's all this subconscious sabotage at play. So, like, what's your take?
Yeah. My take on that is, well, you can think positive all you like, but if your paradigm is not in alignment with that, it's not going to work. It's your paradigms, which are the files of the belief systems that you downloaded as your truth as a child in that first 7 years that you fight to the death for. So if someone says to you, just say this positive affirmation, but your programming is in conflict with that, you can say it till the cows come home. It's not going to change. You have to change the program. And it's in the subconscious. So you can't negotiate with it. There's no one there to argue with. It's a program. It's like playing a record. And we need to erase the programming on the record and rewire it with a new program, which means we've got to get into the subconscious. And that can't be done just by walking around saying positive affirmations. You need to be in the theta state, which is the state you were in when you were programmed at 2 years old.
Oh, so how do we get to that theta state?
That's what my meditations are for, and that's what my work does. I get them in such a calm state that they go off into like daydreaming. And when you get into that daydream state, that's when you can rewire anything.
Well, very excited. I think you're onto something. You've made an amazing discovery. And as far as the timeline, I think you mentioned something about 3 weeks. So, like, what's the amount of time, like, commitment per day? And then what's the schedule look like as far as, like, and how many weeks does something happen? And is there a longer period of time? Do they have to kind of keep with it ongoing? What's the just time factor like?
Yeah, well, everybody knows, including, all my mentors. I trained with Proctor and Robbins and a whole heap of other amazing teachers. They work on themselves all the time. Now, you don't have to do as much or as often once you've done the main work, but personal growth is a way of life. It's not a just, okay, I'm fixed and I never have to do it again, because your old programs will come in. So when you're first starting this, I have 2 courses going. One is a self-paced, which is an introduction to paradigms, vibration, so people can get to understand it. It's a low ticket price. They only need to do 15 minutes a day, at minimum. And they will start to understand themselves and see change. But if they want to do the big stuff, then I have the one-on-one, and that goes for 3 months of one-on-one with me. Then I teach them how to keep doing it once or twice a year, and to kind of look at where the answers that they had the first time, compare it to how they are now, and they can just self-regulate and do it themselves every year or a couple of times a year, self-paced. And, if they need a bit of a hand with that, they can, usually clients will come back in maybe once a term or a couple of times a year and have an hour and a half one-on-one session with me for a sounding board, or to see something they're missing, or, just that little bit of help. But the main thing is it's 3 months. I teach them how to continue doing it themselves, because that's what empowerment really is, when you can do something yourself, not having to constantly rely on someone else. But the shifts are usually 3 weeks, 5 weeks, and then again around 8 to 10 weeks, another shift. And by the end of the 3 months, these people they're doing amazing things, and they just continue to do the work. They know that if they start to slip back again, they can go back and redo it, or they can perhaps do that 15 minutes a day I know all my mentors still, after 50 years, are doing up to an hour a day on themselves. And it's just a way of life. You're always being reprogrammed by your environment. You're always getting triggered. There's so many layers. You could never get through it in this one lifetime. So it's really a decision around, do you want to have a better experience and journey in this life? And if you do, you need to put the time in like you would to eat, cook a meal, have a shower. Same thing. You just make that time to take care of your spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being.
Very nice. And you're so right. I mean, even physical fitness, right? I mean, you mentioned eating, showering, and you don't do those things and you get hungry, you die, you become stinky. And even if
Exactly.
you work out or you take a walk or take a run, if you didn't do those things for 3 months, a year, you'd be really out of shape. So it's an interesting paradox, isn't it? That when someone
Yeah.
really needs that jump start, they need the initial help because it is hard to get started. If they tried to just start off with the maintenance level, then they wouldn't get very far. So they need your help to kind of shock the system and get this working. And then afterwards, once things are okay and they've got the momentum, then they can kind of be self-sufficient, but they're never done. And I think that you're so right that anyone that you know who really has their life together, has it dialed in, a personal growth, motivational speaker, they still know that they're not too good for it, right? They still have the humility to know they have to recurringly go back to it. And so this is great and wonderful to think about. And in the spirit of that, we mentioned earlier that you are really getting published and getting noticed and getting recognized. So do you think, is there anything as far as your own personal growth that you're still working on today?
Oh, absolutely. I'm still working on the courage to step up and be seen. I'm still working on my own confidence every now and then. Sometimes my empath will kick in and I'll go, oh no, I just let my boundary down and I've sucked in something I shouldn't have. And hang on a minute, I'm reacting to that. What's it triggering from the past? I still have to do the work every week as well. But the difference is where I used to fall in the well, which is what my chapter in the book's about. It's about the basement where shadows dwell, your shadow side that you can't access. You can't see it because it's too close. You don't know it's in there. And that's why you need other people to show you or to point this out to you. And I even have mentors and coaches still. I'm constantly working with at least one or two coaches.
Wonderful. And to make sure we fully understand, can you unpack that basement metaphor as a way to get us excited to check out that book? Like, what's that all about? What does the basement represent?
Okay, the basement, I call it the basement because it's the lower part of the body, which is ruled by Pluto astrologically. And that is all the hidden and basement stuff where we feel resentment and anger. So I kind of bring it back astrologically and metaphysically. And our basement for me is the superconscious or subconscious, where everything we learned in that first 7 years, including the downloads we had in utero from our parents and their parents. I mean, the DNA downloading goes back at least 14 generations that we've been able to track. And that is all triggered by our environment. And so sometimes we're reacting to things that aren't even ours, they're inherited paradigms. So I work with that as well. So that's the basement. It's where all the paradigms and behaviors are hiding that you're not aware of, that you can't see, that you require someone outside of you to mirror back at you or bring to your attention for healing.
Well, very nice. And you figure if there's a basement in your home, it could be a place where all your junk is stored and there's cobwebs, but some people add lighting, some people add carpeting, some people clean that place out, don't they?
Yes, and that's exactly what we do when we're rewiring and doing this work. We're going in and cleaning out the basement and bringing the light to the dark. We're turning the switch on and giving it a really good clean and maybe some new furniture, which is like a new paradigm that works better.
Yes. Well, good. Well, there's a lot of change and improvement that we all need to do. And in spirit of that, I want to make sure that we cover what you think is important in our conversation today. So, do you think, is there a missing hidden question in our conversation? Is there something that I should be asking you? I just don't know what to ask you?
Okay. I think we've covered most things. I suppose a lot of people do ask me what inspired me to do what I do, and the answer to that would be my own early conditioning and journey, and how dysfunctional I was, and how life was quite hard from constantly pulling in, partners that aren't suitable, friendships that were dysfunctional, family issues, health issues, major health issues as an empath. And this work changed my life, and I found that I was really good at it. I picked it up early. Even I remember my psych astrology teacher saying to me that I was remembering because I started doing things quite early compared to a lot of others. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that have knowledge in them. They just don't know where to find it. And I can help pull that out of them and support them in doing, what I'm doing, because we always need extra help out there. And I think the harder your journey is when you're younger and the more dysfunctional you are, if you can turn that around, you become the best coach and helper and healer because of what you've been through and the knowledge that you have. And to be able to pull yourself out of that, it takes a lot of focus and discipline. And if you can do that for yourself, then the chances are you can really help a lot of other people.
Yes, that's a great motivator, isn't it? To be able to help people, and you figure if you have gone through more trauma than the average person and had to do more work than the average person, then you can help others more than average as well. And so, as far as some next steps here, if someone is excited about these possibilities that you have about transformational motivation, emotional vulnerability, energetic wisdom, and so much more, how can someone find out more about you, and what are some next steps?
They can go on the website and actually book in a 15-minute call with me, which is free, where we can go over everything we do. I'll listen to their story, and then I can say, yes, we can definitely sort that, or no, I'm not the right person for you. I would never take on someone who wasn't ready or that I feel was out of my scope to help. I haven't come across that yet, but there's, always a first time. I've also run a group of 22,000 on Facebook called Quantum Blueprint. They can find me there, or they can contact me on my Facebook or Instagram. I'm in LinkedIn as well. I've got a YouTube channel. I mean, I'm pretty much everywhere, so it's not hard to find. But if they go into the website, they can book a call with me.
Very good. And that website is quantumblueprint.com.au. And from there, you can click over to any of those social media platforms. But what Deb really wants you to do is book a call to have that quick conversation. It doesn't have to lead anywhere. You're just seeing what the situation is. You can tell Deb your story, and she can see if she can help and kind of just change some patterns, right? Change some outcomes.
Yeah.
And that website is quantumblueprint.com.au. And then the book that Deb has published in with Pat recently is called Reinvented You. And as far as some kind of a final soundbite, as far as some final messaging, I really liked about in your book chapter recently, Deb, you mentioned a couple of interesting ideas. You said, you cannot change what you do not recognize, and knowing thyself is the foundation for transformation. And you also said that when the body becomes the subconscious mind, it doesn't seek peace, it seeks the next fix of cortisol. So all these things seem like you have these amazing ahas and insights. So do you think, as far as us ending our conversation, do you like those thoughts, or do you have something even better as far as just a final quote or lesson that you really live by?
Well, I absolutely love all those, because the body does become the mind. When a pattern is repeated over and over again, the body will take it on automatically, and it releases cortisol. It gets very addicted to the cortisol. So people find that everything's okay maybe for a week, and then they'll create a drama. They don't realize they're actually creating it to get a reaction. The body's doing it so it can get another hit of cortisol, because we are a pharmacy. We can create in our body any drug a pharmaceutical company can, but better, because it's made for our body. That's pretty much what I live by when it comes to what I do. But I do have a powerful quote that I also really love that speaks very true for me, and it's from Gary V. I think he's pretty awesome. And he talks about how people chase cash instead of happiness. And chasing money creates loss, he says. It won't make you happy. It won't bring you your purpose or significance. Passion brings happiness. And when you're happy and doing your purpose, that brings the money. And I really love that saying that he talks about.
That is great. Pursue happiness plus purpose. Well, those are words to live by, especially as we go to quantumblueprint.com.au and schedule that call with Miss Deb and get on this path to healing and find that psychological truth. And thank you much, Miss Deb, for showing up, stopping by, and being a very wonderful co-author in the book Reinvented You, and for being a highly sought after and publicized medium and coach to just help us get to this kind of empathic healing path, because it's so difficult and we can be our own worst enemy if we're not careful. So we should go right now to quantumblueprint.com.au. And thanks for showing up today, Deb.
Thank you so much, Robert. It's been a pleasure.